aren't we? Depends on who's doctoring the numbers. Doctoring is the right number, or the right word, my apologies. My words don't always come together right. The more stressed out I am, the more afraid I am, the less likely my words are to come together. The more rushed that I am, the more likely it is that my words are going to come together improperly or wrong. Predators do prey on this. They'll talk over you and berate you and tone bully you. You know tone bullying. Why don't you ask your dad? Tone bullying. When you're homeless in the United States, you're not a human being. Not to anybody. Oh, sure, they might talk about how they care, but they're going to show you that they don't. Friends and family members, when you're homeless, will show you that you're not a friend or family member when you go to them when you're abused. As a homeless person, you are the most likely person to be murdered by a serial killer. As a homeless person, you are the most likely, per capita, you're the most likely person to be killed in the United States. But number one on that list is still men. Now, we've got groups like, well, we know, don't we? I say no victim left behind because Me Too movement is only about women victims. Male victims don't matter. When a male victim tries to get help, how is he treated? You just need to man up. I got real police work to do. I'm too busy. Why don't you ask someone else? Oh, I looked up a number for you to call. I looked up a number for you to call. But I'm a male. When I was sent to various agencies by the Nebraska Attorney General's office, and I was told to call these agencies. Meanwhile, how many people that I had gone to, people who were actual witnesses to the situations I spoke of, people like Polly Olson, did she speak up about those situations? No. No, she didn't. What she did is she pawned me off to the Nebraska Attorney General's office. Nebraska Attorney General's office pawned me on to the FBI. And pawned me off onto the Nebraska State Patrol, both of which told me it wasn't their job, both of which blackballed me like a motherfucker, same as the media. After my name was slandered the way that it was, after I was forced to trust people. No, I don't trust anyone. You have to give me a reason to trust you. Lying to me is not giving me a reason to trust you. Telling me that you're going to do something that needs to be done immediately. But you promise me that you're going to do it for 6 months, 8 months, or 6 years. You make these promises, but you don't follow through. You could have put a stop to this harm, but you did nothing. The statistics show that women are more likely to be the aggressor in a physical altercation with a man. Women are more likely to be the aggressor, not the man. The man is most likely to be arrested. So groups like Me Too, they stick with the arrest records instead of actual facts. Police choose bias. They choose laziness, same as public pretenders. A public defender gets paid to lie to you. Gets paid to try to scare you into pleading guilty to a crime you didn't commit. A public pretender, when you go to them because you are being abused, isn't supposed to ignore the abuse or go on vacation. I was repeatedly sent to people, well, for example, when I was trying to turn in Officer Amanda Jonas. In order to turn in Amanda Jonas, I would have had to know that it was Amanda Jonas who was there that day. I didn't. I knew that it was 3 officers that I needed to turn in. Then they gave me Amanda Jonas. Well, I didn't know that Amanda Jonas was one of the officers who was involved because I hadn't seen her. I just knew that the person who was supposed to investigate it was Amanda Jonas. Guess when I found out that Amanda Jonas was one of the officers I was trying to turn in? When Kayla Trujillo said that she would go in with me for my safety. Finally, I had someone to go in with me so I could turn it in for my safety. And I got there, and Amanda Jonas, one of these officers that I had tried to turn in, had abused her power to guarantee that I wouldn't be allowed to turn her in. One of those officers was also involved in Natalie's case. He had been let go from his position with Adams County Sheriff's Department. He was supposed to investigate Natalie's situation. He was supposed to have called me before Natalie was killed, and he never did. And then here he is in Longmont, Colorado, a different jurisdiction. It's another one of the jurisdictions that I was sent to. I was told that I couldn't turn in the officers in my situation. I was told that I needed to turn them in to another jurisdiction, that I needed to turn them into another agency. I tried every agency. They all tell me it's not their job. And then the officers that I was trying to turn in got to commit felony after felony after felony against me as soon as they found out that I was trying to turn them in. Who is most likely to be murdered by a police officer? Is it a black person at 22%? Or is it a male at 96%? Are the majority of black people who are killed by police every year in houses? Or are they homeless? Are the majority of Native Americans killed by police every year? Are they in houses or are they homeless? Now we get to see on TikTok and on Facebook and on YouTube how many women out there truly go out of their way to play victim everywhere that they go, trying to troll for a situation where they can play victim for attention. And we have taught every single little girl in America to do this. Every single one of them, we have taught them to do this. Like that woman in Florida who assaulted the shit out of a man over and over and over and over again. And guess who was arrested? He was. Then there's the situation with Miss Fernandez. Wanted to try doing that at the gym. We've got a lot of independent studies, don't we? We have to have these independent polls and studies. Because police don't do their jobs. They choose bias. A male has to be afraid because juries are biased too. Everybody in America is taught that they're not allowed to stand up for a man's side. A man is the predator, and if you don't pretend that the man is the predator, then women will destroy your life. They will treat you like shit. They will haunt you and fucking berate you and slander your name if you don't do what they say, because they're allowed. Women are allowed. Women are not held accountable to the law because the law is biased. The way it is written is fine. The fact that it's not enforced is not. Because of outright lies and slander, we have laws specifically written to give women special rights to destroy a man's life. We've done this for black people too. Are those rights observed? That's what BLM is not looking at. Those rights are not observed for any of the victims if they're poor, especially if they're homeless. And if you have ever been depressed for any reason in your lifetime, you are automatically discredited. Nothing that you say matters. You have to have a friend or family member who cares. What are you doing about it? Nothing. You're blaming the victims for being victimized. You're telling them they deserve it for speaking up. When the victim goes in to turn it in, and they have to do it alone, and they are harmed irreparably, because nobody cares about you when you have to do it alone. These public pretenders want to whine that they're not getting paid enough, that they can't do their job for every one of these clients that they have. Are they speaking up to the public about this? Are they writing it down? They are taught how to scare us into taking false charges. They're taught how to procrastinate. When I was given Amanda Jonas of Longmont, Colorado, to investigate the crimes committed by Amanda Jonas and two of her co-workers, the police in Natalie's case had already shown bias against me. They had already preyed on that. And so had the media. The media has been painting all homeless people as villains for years. The media will not hear our side. They will only print slander against us. And the people that you're gonna tell me are supposed to help me are people who want to talk about the Illuminati and tarot cards and God. God is not a fucking attorney. Records show that 96% of those killed by police are men. Why is that? Because we push that all men are predators. Oh, but not if they're a police officer. You are assumed innocent if you're a police officer. The difference between a victim being able to turn in their predators and being blown off everywhere that they go to try to turn it in, told that it is always someone else's job when they try to turn it in. The difference is whether or not they have a friend or family member who cares to help them turn it in person. All of my friends and family members had the ability and the opportunity to either make it with me in person or make the phone calls with me. Every one of them did. But they didn't care who hurt me. They didn't care that their testimony was the difference between me being victimized by the courts or having an honest court date. They went out of their way not to understand that the difference between me being victimized by these people and me getting to turn in my predators was whether or not they went in with me for my safety because of bias and hatred against men, against the disabled, and against the homeless. No matter how many laws there are that make these things illegal to do to the homeless, to do to the disabled, to do to black people, to do to women, none of it matters. If the American public is just going to make excuses when it happens to someone else, you don't give two shits when the police murder another mentally ill person who is trying to turn them in. When they murder another mentally ill person who's in a desperate situation because they are always forced into subservient positions to get help that does not fucking exist. I have to take abuse and neglect in order to get help turning in my predators, only for these people to tell me, after abusing me, that it's not their job to help me turn it in. This is their negligence. Their negligence. And not a goddamn one of them is held accountable. They are not held accountable for intentional criminal negligence, for intentional witness tampering, for intentional evidence tampering, for intentionally torturing a victim into submission. But it's okay, because I'm angry. Because I'm angry, I must be crazy. No, I'm angry because my life is hell. You look at the way that I reacted eventually to the fucking abuse that I'm enduring for 6 years. But you won't look at the evidence of the abuse, or speak up, or lift a fucking finger to stop it. These people gaslighted me like a motherfucker. Officer Burke was supposed to do some investigating on Natalie's case before she was killed. The whole stalking thing. Nobody ever fucking contacted me like that. Natalie contacted me from a telephone. I assumed that was her telephone number. Claiming that she wanted to meet me to stop all the crazy. I'd already gone to the cops repeatedly. The cops had told me to go to Natalie and her family. Hey, it's better if you try to settle this out of court. I am a disabled person who is trying to turn in harm against me. And the police repeatedly pushed me off onto other people. How is it appropriate when a disabled person is harmed? How is it appropriate to send them to mental health when mental health says they can't do anything about it? You're sending us to mandated reporters who are not going to do their jobs as mandated reporters. These people have no consequences. When they choose not to do their jobs, when your own public pretender is going out of his or her way to threaten you, that's not okay. When you want to turn that into the judge and the judge outright refuses you that right, you refuse the right to turn in your predators in that situation. They are accepting tax dollars for a job they're not doing. I was literally tortured in the jails and the prisons across the fucking country. Meanwhile, my predators aren't just across the country, they are across the entire planet. When you slander someone's name the way that mine has been, and you never allow that person to defend themselves in court, or face their accusers, or even go to court, when you give them public pretenders who don't even show up repeatedly, when you postpone it over and over and over and over again until the discovery that proves my innocence is no longer allowed in court. That is those public pretenders' negligence. It is illegal for a judge to tell me that I either have to sign a piece of paper that makes what the public pretender's office did legal, or I have to plead guilty to a crime I didn't commit. Because I'm trying to turn in The public pretender's office. This is a blatant and outright misuse of their fucking power. Meanwhile, statistics show that women are far more likely to physically assault men than the other way around. Arrest records show that men are far more likely to be arrested. You can see all over Facebook and TikTok and YouTube, women all over the country trolling for an ugly guy that they can claim is a predator. They go to the gym specifically so they can pretend that men are gawking at them, so that they can play victim. We have taught them to do this. And then we're told, oh, well, look at all the stuff that happens to women. Look at all the stuff that happens to men, and we're not heard. We are victimized and talked over and talked down to by women who claim that they were victimized. That when they tried to turn it in, that they were talked down to and talked over, and how horribly it felt. And literally, they're talking over you. You are trying to turn in a crime that just happened to you. And you have to listen to this fucking cunt sob story from 20 fucking years ago. You cannot ask a woman for help because she will either A, as she has been taught in the United States of America to do, she will talk over you, or B, and probably both, try to shame you for trying to get help, for trying to get the help that you need. Oh, sure, they will say the supportive things, but they will do the opposite. Oh, Sean, I support you. Then make the fucking call with me. Oh, Sean, I believe you. Then make the fucking call with me. If you can ignore me for 6 years while I'm reaching out to you for help, you're not a friend. There's a lady now who is trying to help, and she is starting to understand. The more evidence I'm able to send to her, the better, but I need a safe place that I can send evidence from. Because of her not owning the property that she lives at, there's a certain amount of days that she's allowed to have somebody stay there. After that, she gets in trouble. So it's important not to wear that out. All of these people who want to tell me what to do like I'm a retard, stop. Stop. I don't need advice. I need someone to bear witness. When I have to turn it in, I have to not turn it in alone, and I have to record it. For my predators to be allowed to deny evidence in court, and I'm not allowed to show it because those very same predators called me mentally ill. Because those very same predators arrested me. Those very same predators took me to the hospital and told the hospital diagnosis that they're not able to give. Scott DaCosta is not able to make a diagnosis. He is a crooked sheriff, not a doctor. For him to tell hospitals that I'm schizophrenic and have them just assume that he is telling the truth is a horrible, horrible thing. The fact that I am victimized to this day and that I have to go to YouTube to this day to speak up about the situations. This is a horrible thing. You guys talk about how horrible Natalie must have had it because she had to go to the internet about being harassed and stalked. She wasn't stalked by anyone. When I speak up, you call it stalking. I was speaking up about abuse. I was speaking up about threats, harassment, and assault over things that never happened. But when I speak up on the internet, because I am that desperate, you pretend I'm stalking. You tell me to go to my friends and family for help. And when I went to my friends and family for help, Natalie got to use that to pretend I was stalking her. This should have been handled professionally. The police should have done their fucking jobs. When the police in Dual County and the programs that I was sent to, not just the police in Dual County. Sorry, there's no police in Dual County. It's the Dual County Sheriff's Department and the Nebraska State Trooper's Office. The first time I had a real run-in with the police, with law enforcement over this situation, somebody called me in on suicide watch. Why was I fucking suicidal? You think it's a fucking party? Being homeless? Women are 11 times more likely to be stalkers. If a woman harms a man over her paranoia, it's the man's fault because it's what the woman thinks. But if a man is abused over what a woman thinks, that's her paranoia. Then you pretend that he's paranoid for no reason because obviously a man cannot be victimized. All of the places that I've had to call, all of the places that I have had to go to, they have showed bias. Women especially have shown bias. Repeatedly, I have had to go to women in these services. Just so you know, women are the most likely to kill you. Very specifically, female nurses hold the highest body count. How many thousands of female nurses today are still getting away with killing your family members because they're women? Women would never do that. Well, if they would never do that, why do they have the highest body count? You want to ignore that when you're trying to claim that men are predators. If a male is sexually assaulted by a woman, we have to be afraid to turn our predator in. You know what kind of a person makes the victim go in and talk to the police by themselves? Do you know what kind of a person does that? A horrible person. Only a horrible person would make a Jew go to the Nazis for help. Women are 11 times more likely to be stalkers than men. But because of bias, men are between 6 and 26 times more likely to be convicted. One of the common tricks with that is to arrest a man and then deny him his right to go to a court date. You just pretend that he wasn't incarcerated. You intentionally neglect to write that down. And police did this repeatedly. Police officers by name that I was trying to turn in. They worked together across multiple jurisdictions to prevent me from turning them in. And I'm not allowed to show that in any jurisdiction. Homie, don't play that. My quote-unquote friends and family did everything that they could to deny me any of my rights themselves. They denied outrageous sums for help that they never provided. Each and every one of them wanting to play on the mentally ill tag after doing so. Fuck the United States and everyone in it. The way that the media paints the homeless, the way that the police paint the homeless, results in near non-stop abuse against the homeless. All of you junkies in houses, you know you get to play on the junkie thing. People's assumption that a homeless person must be a junkie. You know, marijuana is legal in Colorado. I helped to make it that way. And for years and years and years, I got to hear from alcoholics who abuse people how it's okay because alcohol's legal. People want to make excuses for alcoholics when they hurt you, don't they? They want to say, oh, he was probably just drunk. Yeah, that's right, he was. First time Robert Franklin Warnick, the registered Nebraska sex offender, come out into the streets to threaten my life over literally nothing. I'm told that, well, according to the law, it doesn't matter what your intent was. It matters what they think. Really? Because it doesn't apply that way to me, does it? You blow me off and pretend like I'm crazy. If I have to turn the evidence in alone, you just throw it away, pretend it didn't happen or didn't exist. After the first time when I went in to talk to Joan Hansen, the clerk of the courts, the first time that I went to her to try to turn in my predators in Chapel, Nebraska and elsewhere, she told me I needed to turn it into the Dual County Sheriff. Then, after she realized that I record everything, what did she do? Well, she told me a different way to do it. I'm not supposed to turn it into the sheriff. I'm supposed to turn it into her. And there's this thing online that'll show me how to do it, she says. Well, right there, that showed that Joan Hanson had broken the law when she'd forced me to try to turn that stuff into Scott DaCosta. Meanwhile, because of the abuse in Chapel, Nebraska, because of slander by Scott DaCosta and his deputies in Chapel, Nebraska, because of abuse by their friends in Chapel, Nebraska, I had to be afraid to go anywhere in Chapel, Nebraska. I tried to turn in Robert Franklin Warnick repeatedly before he assaulted me. I'm gimping around with a fucked up back and fucked up legs. I broke my toes a few days ago on my right foot. I'm gimping around on that because I have to. People pretend like if they weren't there to see my efforts, then they never happened. So I record them. I record those situations. Then you refuse to look. You pretend like if you don't look, that it didn't happen. You pretend like if you don't come forward with your information, which allows me to be harmed over and over and over again. You pretend like if you don't come forward about that you did the right thing by allowing an innocent man to be harmed repeatedly because you're a coward. It's not just statistics, though, is it? It's evidence. You can see this shit with your own two eyes on TikTok, on Facebook, on YouTube. How blatantly sexist women are in the United States. Women are taught that it is okay for them to be blatantly sexist. Women are taught that it's okay for them to destroy a man's life with slander and then play victim. What he's going through doesn't matter. Her opinion does. You think this is something I can sum up in 10 minutes? This is 6 years of fucking abuse. 6 years of me having to spend my resources to do what all of my predators want me to do. All of these people that I was sent to that are supposed to help me to turn in these crimes are predators. They're accepting your tax dollars. Government agencies are sending me to these people for a job that they're not doing. When I am told that I need to go to these people for help turning in my predators, and I go to those people and they harm me and refuse to do that job and say it's not their job. For 6 years. For 6 years. How about we stop arguing and you look at evidence? How about if you want to pretend to be my friend, when I call you up and I tell you that I need help turning in a crime, you help me to turn it in. Actually help turn it in. Don't do it alone and have no evidence of it, and pretend I'm just supposed to take your word for it. Claim that you did all these things. Really? Did you? Prove it. Prove it, you piece of shit. Police said that I wasn't trying to get help. The evidence shows that I was. The police said nobody would help me. And the evidence shows that they would. It also shows all of the things that were done to prevent them from doing so. I wasn't the only one. Cutting me off from my Facebook. Cutting me off from my Facebook. Cutting me off from talking to my friends or showing my friends what's going on. The police literally assaulted me and charged me with felony assault against a police officer in Boulder, Colorado. I was sent to Boulder, Colorado by the detectives in Natalie's case. They wanted to try to claim that I was in Boulder, that I had been living homeless in Boulder. I hadn't been, because it was unsafe for me to be in Boulder. Before Natalie was killed, I hadn't been in Boulder. The only time I went to Boulder was to rescue people, or when somebody promised to meet me there to listen to me and look and fucking help. I needed a real friend in real life, not pretty words on Facebook. Not, hey, Sean, if you come here, I'll help you. And then I go there and you want cigarettes and you want pot. You want money for rent, you want food. And I go out and I do what I can to get you what it is that you want. When I get you those things, you don't help me though, do you? No, you play video games. Or you talk about your bullshit. Your trivial bullshit. When I come to you about crimes that are committed against me, instead of doing what a friend should do, would you help me to turn it in? You make every excuse not to. None of you are my friends. Statistics show that we, the homeless and disabled, we are in this situation because our friends and our families don't care. The police do not care. None of them care about protocol. None of them care about the law. While telling us that we shouldn't care what other people think. Well, people are assaulting us. Yes, of course, we're going to care what people think when they are assaulting us over what they think. Statistics show that women are a lot more likely to get their friends involved. I personally know women who have gone to women that they hated so they could work together and destroy a man's life because one of those women didn't get what she wanted. Women are taught they're allowed one free hit. Some women are taught that they're allowed, apparently, a free hit every other second. Well, boys are taught it's never okay to hit a girl. Well, I am assaulted. I'm told by officers when I try to turn in the assaults that they can't do anything about what other people think. Really, they did do things about what other people think. They went out of their way to press false charges on me. Did you know in Nebraska, when you are charged with a crime or you are arrested, it goes on the radio, and most people there just assume your guilt. You were arrested, you must be guilty. These predators in law enforcement act with impunity. My dad didn't care how much people hurt me. Then when he was recorded and put up on my YouTube channel, did he follow his own advice? No, but he did from a subservient position. Was he in a subservient position? No, he wasn't. I had to hope that my dad cared about me. It's his house. My dad went to prison for shit he actually did. I was raped because my dad was in prison. I was molested because my dad was in prison. I was beaten repeatedly because my dad was in prison. The people who are supposed to protect me weren't there to protect me. And nobody with a government position, that's a cush job. You get the best insurance. You get the best of everything. None of these people that we're supposed to go to when we're harmed are going to jeopardize their cush position by doing their jobs. Meanwhile, rather than look at evidence, it's always their word versus mine. And my word isn't even allowed to be heard. It's not heard by my own public pretenders. You're all evil people, all of you. I have to say evil, because that's what you are. You are selfish, horrible animals. When it happens to somebody else, you will look the other way. Like John Apuleius did when he saw Doug Cowden molesting an underage girl in John Apuleius' house in Chapel, Nebraska. Statistics show that men, not women, are the most likely victims of abuse. You say that men are more likely to kill a woman. No, that's not true. A woman is more likely to try to convince someone else to do it. I know that Jamie Curtis has tried to convince me to kill her son's dad on more than one occasion. If I told you the things that she offered me to kill Mr. Cox, of Wichita, Kansas. His name is Mark Cox. He has a baby. Well, he's not a baby anymore. With Jamie Curtis. Not the famous movie star, obviously. Her son got a hold of me to let me know that his mom had slandered me to his dad, and that his dad wasn't going to listen to him. I wonder if Mark Cox realizes that Jamie Curtis was trying to get people to kill him. Not just myself, also Todd Rust and Hayden McCall. It's all right, though, isn't it? When I tell about crimes that are being committed, such as Sheriff Scott DaCosta of Dual County, Nebraska, running around town telling people that he was going to run me out of town. He and his officers had done that once before. Why am I having to go to that place? Because that's where my support network was, a small portion anyway. Except they weren't my support network after what happened to Natalie. They were empty words. When I turn in crimes that are committed against me, and multiple people worked together to do those things, it is not acceptable for me to be told when I try to turn in crimes that were committed by Robert Franklin Warnick. It is not acceptable that when I go to police officers and they refuse to do their jobs, or they break the law to assist Robert Franklin Warnick in getting away with his felonies, it's not appropriate to make me go back to those officers and give them another opportunity, which is what Nebraska State Patrol did to me repeatedly. Make me go to my predators to turn my predators in. Make me go to Scott DaCosta to turn in Scott DaCosta. How is that acceptable? When you give me all your excuses, when you say you're going to do something and then you give me all of those excuses, well, you can't do it, you can't do it, you'll do it next weekend, you'll do it next weekend, you'll do it next weekend. None of it's right away, and that's what a victim needs. When they have been harmed, they need someone to go in with them right away to help them to turn it in. Whoever did that for me. Look at Laura Nelson. Look at her stupid face. She knew a lot about what was going on. Hell, the car that broke down, she knew that the problem with it was pre-existing. I bought it from her and her fucking husband. I spent a lot of money for help that I didn't get. When I was finally in a place where I could turn in Scott DaCosta, where I was out of his jurisdiction, safely in a hotel room of my own, able to set up my stuff and not have to listen to Harley and Dallas screaming, not have to mind what I'm saying because I'm not stuck in public at a Starbucks or the library, or because I'm at someone's place where their kids are there or their grandkids, where I wasn't having to stay in a subservient situation with people who had been predatory towards me in the past, like my father, or Lana Engeline, or Amanda Engeline, or Jerry Sparks, or Candace Bondurant. With all of these people, and they did horrible things to me, I couldn't turn it in. After Natalie's death, when these people wanted to come back into my life and tell me how sorry they were for what happened, did they help me to turn in the crimes, or did they procrastinate and blow me off and make everything into a fucking argument or a party? Make it about getting laid and hanging out. Try to get me to focus on something else. Hey, I got plenty of other stuff that I can focus on. I don't need you to force your shit onto me. I had people force video games onto me. Yeah, I already had video games. I don't have any anymore. There's no room with all of the evidence of the efforts that I have made, the inhuman efforts that I have had to make, been forced to make. I have been forced to go against doctors' orders so that I can comply with courts, so that I can go to appointments, that I will be treated like I didn't try if I don't make it to every single one of them. Meanwhile, no matter how many of those appointments I go to, the police slander my name in court, say I didn't try to get help. And no matter how much evidence there is that I tried to get help, no matter how much documentation there is that I went to Jeff Ritter for help, that I went to Marcia Estrada for help, that I went to Jen Beebe for help, that I went to Nicole Peralta for help, that these are the people I was told I needed to go to for help. The evidence shows I absolutely did go. I went to all of my appointments. Region 1 Nebraska was one of the places that I was sent to before Natalie was killed, that was supposed to help me to turn in these crimes. Nicole Peralta didn't do shit that entire fucking time. Tamara was the only one actually trying to help, and when she quit her fucking job, that was it. There was no help. Let's take a look at the professionals that I went to about the abuse before Natalie was killed. The people that I was sent to that were supposed to help. Natalie was suicidal because of her fucking family. Her family and her friends. They're always more important, aren't they? Because they've got the drugs. My phone is about to die. Should have been plugged in this whole time. With it. Natalie Bollinger and her friends gaslighted the fuck out of me and then played fucking victim when I told on them. Her and her friends and her family slandered me over and over and over. And rather than collect evidence, police just victimized the fuck out of me! It's not that I didn't try to get help, it's that nobody fucking cared. It was only the help that they wanted to provide. Oh, really? It's not the help that you fucking promised, is it? Kind of like these government agencies. I'm told by lawyers not to go in alone. The first thing on my paperwork about turning in the abuse against me It's to go to a friend or family member. Because see, here's the thing. A friend or family member is supposed to care about you enough to hear what happened and help you turn it in immediately. But my friends or family didn't care. For 6 years, all it's been is a fucking argument. No matter who hurts me or how often, my friends and my family have showed they don't care. What they care about is money and what other people think. What they care about is access to drugs. For me to be repeatedly forced to go to that kind of people for help is fucking horrible. Then, of course, the slander is allowed in court. I was slandered in every single one of my court dates. Every single one of them. And it was accepted as if it was written in stone. As if it was the gospel of the Lord Almighty Himself. That's what it's really like when you're called mentally ill. People will let anyone do anything that they want to you at any point in time. It doesn't matter what the law says. According to the law, I'm protected. No. That's not true, is it? According to what's on paper, I'm protected. The reality of the situation shows that I am the most victimized person in the country for a reason. Homeless, disabled males are the most victimized people in the country, bar none. When the local police and sheriff's departments across multiple jurisdictions work together to prevent you from turning them in and get away with it by calling you mentally ill, by refusing to look at evidence, someone should have been there so that when they lied to me, I had some protection. But the people who work for the government, Tara Miller, for example, did she do her job with Adult Protective Services? No, she did not. What did her boss do when I tried to turn her in? Threatened, harassed, and intimidated me and fucking yelled at me. Absolutely not fucking okay. Absolutely not fucking okay. Police have prevented me from giving details in person of the situations by intentionally yelling at me, talking over me while I'm speaking. All of them know that they can do this. Everyone knows that they can do this. When I get to the part where there's details of the actual fucking felonies, you want to talk over me so you can pretend you didn't hear it. Absolutely not. For me to be forced to go to hostile departments and hostile people who have shown themselves to be hostile repeatedly, how is that okay? And the situation with Scott DaCosta, after they found out I was trying to turn them in, and Nebraska State Patrol made me go to them. Well, Scott DaCosta and Leslie Snell pretended to be nice for a little bit. But pretending to be nice is not the same as doing your job. And pretending to be nice doesn't mean that you're not breaking the law. When you guys pretend that I'm a bad person for being angry about the abuse, but you pretend that the people who committed felonies against me were justified in being angry because I told on them. That is not fucking okay. You don't like the way that I was forced to defend myself? Well, then you should have helped me to turn in my predators. Instead of pretending that because of my looks and because of my gender that I must be the bad guy, that I must be a pervert, that I must be some sort of sexual predator. I am the victim here, not Natalie Bollinger. I was the one denied the right to go to court. But because nobody made the calls with me, I was repeatedly blown off over and over and over and over again. Repeatedly told to call someone else. Every government agency that I called told me it was someone else's job. They allow these people to bully me until I want my life to end. Rather than trying to kill myself, I try to get help stopping the bullies. And I am harmed under the mentally ill tag. The first question that you should ask when somebody wants their life to end is why? But that's not what they do, is it? You tell us to go to cops knowing that police are going to blow us off. You make us go to the police alone. You force us into situations where we don't have the resources. You think I have all the time in the world with a computer in front of me and peace and fucking quiet to go through all this shit. I don't. Any of y'all ever been carpenters? You remember working for a shitty carpenter your first day on a job? The other employees are talking to you like you're retarded. When the boss leaves, they tell you to do something. When the boss comes back, he yells at you for doing it. Or they want to send you to get a board stretcher. Fucking standard hazing. Just so you know, just because they're fucking with you doesn't mean you won't turn out to be a hell of a carpenter. And the fact remains, bullied. That's what's happening. You're being bullied your first day on the job. It's just standard hazing. No, it's not. You could fuck up an entire job doing that. Or tens of thousands of dollars worth of construction materials. Because you think it's fucking funny. Now, between that innocent guy, first day on the job, getting in trouble, or all you assholes getting in trouble, are you going to fess up? No, you don't care if that fucking kid goes to jail for destroying $10,000 worth of construction equipment because you fucking told him to? Because you thought it'd be fucking funny? When these people say, oh, it'll take time. Well, really? Because I'm being railroaded in court because you're taking your fucking time. I'm being harmed everywhere I go because you're taking your time. Are you looking at evidence? No, you're not. Like that Martha lady with the ombudsman's office here in Oregon. That shit is not fucking okay. Fuck this goddamn country and everyone in it. Natalie and her family made false claims. So they had to try to gaslight me into doing the things that they claimed I did. But I wouldn't. And I wouldn't. And they tried everything they could. They tried slandering my name all over the internet and enticing other people to threaten, harass, and intimidate me over and over and over again. Like Jennifer Farina Bollinger and her friend Adam Klein. And their repeated harassment. They would gaslight me until I fucking had to react. And then they would say, oh, look, he's a bad person. He finally reacted. After these people had literally threatened to kill me hundreds of times, and nobody would fucking listen or look at the fucking evidence. They'd just say, oh, I believe you, Sean. I believe you. Help me to fucking turn it in, god damn it. When I go in to talk to the police and try to turn it in, they turn it into a fucking argument. Just like you pieces of shit. And then you want to pretend like I'm a bad person for telling the truth about it. When helping stop the abuse or getting laid, I'm supposed to understand that getting laid is more important? No, it's not more important than another human's life. You fucking cowardly, fucking selfish, goddamn piece of shit. All you care about is getting your fucking dick wet, Brandon Ratner. Dear women, if Brandon Ratner offers you help, he's trying to get some pussy. Call a moving company. If you're broke, I'm sorry. If you have to go to Brandon Ratner because you're broke, I'm sorry. But those of you who are pretty, well, at least now you know you can manipulate Brandon Ratner into doing it for free.